I'm never having a boss again.
Yeah.
I'm never having a boss again.
Yeah.
And that has been like my guiding edict. Well, one of the things that is sort of like I'm just not compromising on it. And I came really close in California. I was like on the verge of taking like a fucking Amazon warehouse job.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I went and I did the fucking piss test.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I'm giving Jeff Bezos my fucking piss, man. Like, I can't. This is fucked up. Like, even
no,
for like a
those jobs sound like
future
hell.
dystopia,
Those jobs sound like hell.
Yeah, so I was like, I'm not going through with this. I just fucking ghosted the recruiter. Sorry, whatever her name was. I wouldn't have been a good worker anyway.
Let me push this full auto button. Yeah, that's better. All right. So yeah, I don't know what it is with Instagram, but I follow some accounts that are like give you tips on the shit, and like apparently like they just changed it again.
Yeah, they did.
Where they're gonna start favoring original content more.
That's true.
Yeah.
I mean, me and Joel, I'm a stay-at-home dad, and other people that are sort of in my niche and I talk to regularly, we are all like intelligent. Mm-hmm. And have been doing this for a long time. So the instant they fucking change something, we notice it, and then they release something about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. See, I have a repost page. It's just was my shitpost account that just hit 20K, and my main has like 94 or whatever, and so I guess like under those new rules, it would mean that the repost page would get less favorability, which is fine because it's the one that's less important to me.
Yeah.
And I just don't think it's kind of like, you know, every political idea starts off with good intentions, right?
Yeah.
It's like everything that Instagram tries to do to make it better, to protect you, to anything, always seems to backfire on you spectacularly. But
it's also backfiring on them. Like they're not doing well.
It's like
they're losing.
You users. Have to be either fucking up royally, or like you're intentionally trying to make this bad for us. And I've had people who work with industry insiders who have told me that they want to make you upset as a creator.
Oh, yeah. Oh, as a creator?
Yeah.
Why?
So that you'll post
more
and differently and more organically, trying to recreate the high that you got from that random thing that just blew up suddenly. It's they've sort of modeled their algorithm after TikTok's algorithm, which I don't have much.
It's nothing like TikTok's algorithm. I mean, my TikTok's actually grown where I almost have the same amount of followers now. But when I had like 5,000 followers on TikTok, I post the exact same thing on the exact same day, get way more reach on TikTok when I had like almost 50K on my...
I don't know if like I was doing it wrong or something, but when I had one, no, keep in mind, I was still like, I was doing it on the side. You know what I mean? I'm like making 3 memes a day, you know, trying to run this fucking account. And on the side, I'm like, Instagram's getting a little hairy, dude.
Yeah.
Might need to start like searching around. You know, it's like when you're in a relationship, you know that motherfucker's over, but it's not over yet.
Yeah.
Start shopping, bro.
Well, it's tougher because you make just straight memes. You don't make videos, so you can't really go to TikTok.
Sometimes I do, but it's not my bread and butter. It's not like something. And I mean, I tried a few long form videos in the summer of last year because they briefly gave me eligibility for IGTV ads.
Okay.
So my brain will start coming up with ideas for whatever. But like with the TikTok thing, I had a couple of videos that went viral-ish. You know what I mean? Like 400,000 views or likes or whatever. One of those things that like on TikTok when something like goes off, it goes off way longer than like the satisfying part. You know what I mean? You're like, just shut the fuck up with these notifications.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
You're showing the video to a lot of people.
Yeah.
But every other video that was not those videos was just like a total fucking flop, and I just couldn't figure out what to do to make it successful. And me, I'm just like neurotic, so even though I know it's like a social media platform, I'm like, is it me?
Yeah. I think everyone.
Why do you hate me?
Every creator feels that way at some level. Oh,
sure.
I've done like maybe 5 different TikToks before this TikTok, and they would all get shadow banned because TikTok is so strict with like community guidelines, way more than Instagram. Yeah. Where like you can't even say the word sex. Like that's why people say like segs on TikTok.
No, I see. I'm kind of like, I'm a writer. My mother tells me that I taught myself the alphabet when I was 18 months old. And I went to this care place that was like pre-kindergarten. And I had a crib there. And they put a fucking, like the alphabet around my crib. When their supervisors would come by, they would have me perform like a trained SEAL, like they did something when I was just like a genius kid. You know what I mean? Like meanwhile, they're like washing my mouth out with soap for like cursing. Like you're not doing a good job.
I mean, I remember teachers. I went to a private school, all boys, and it was they were so strict about every little thing. It was like the fucking like Pink Floyd, like you can't eat your pudding. You know what I mean?
I grew up Catholic, so it was weird.
But like, I just couldn't understand teachers who would just like get so upset, like screaming, like veins pulsing out of their neck when I was like 12 years old because I like talked out a turn or some shit.
This is, I think. Look, the thing is, we are a fucked up society in many ways, and in one of the ways is that we don't value teachers at all. So we have these people who fucking hate their jobs, hate their lives, and are just like radiating fucking putrid energy, and then we just send them into the fucking school.
Well, like it's like these English teachers all wanted to be like writers. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Look, my English teacher in high school was a dickhead too. It's like that's the fucking you are interested in literature and you're doing this.
Exactly. The exact same book every single year.
See, that's why I just fucking shot heroin for like 10 years and cleaned up. And I'm just going straight to writing a novel.
Like those 10 years, how old were you?
Well, I mean, I'm kind of generalizing. So I started using drugs young when I was like 14 years old.
Right.
Which is a pretty common age for drug addicts. And, just like right around the time
that's like when I started.
When you have access, you start doing it. You know what I mean? Because it flips that switch for you. And I didn't get around to heroin until I was about 23. I was kind of just like trying shit out. And then I had a couple of kind of gnarly brushes with like stimulants. Like when I first moved to Austin in 2005, for like the first 6 months, I was like smoking a lot of glass with these weird ass people, and like I had enough situations.
In Oakland?
No, this was in Austin.
Austin, you said.
Yeah. I just had enough of it, and then I'd gotten away from those people, and I was hanging out with someone who I'd grown up with, who had also moved out to Austin, and someone T-boned her while I was in the passenger seat. And basically, I don't know how this works, but we were approached by business people and were like, sign this contract and you can get free money. And like, you know what I mean? In my head too, because you're sending me to a free chiropractic clinic weekly for like the next 6 months.
Oh, there's like they're doing like a test on you? It's like a guinea pig situation. It's like a focus group.
Well, basically, they're like, creating a paper trail and saying, you hit this person and you injured these people, so pay out this money.
Yeah, okay.
Like they're trying to get a settlement of some sort.
Oh, right. Got it.
But I am like getting 30 Vicodin a week from this fucking...
Yeah. So wait, how bad was that wreck?
I was fine.
Yeah.
I was not hurt at all. I was doing this for the drugs and the money. I mean, I was 20 years old and they're like, you know, sign here and you know what I mean? You don't have to do anything at all. So that's sort of like, I was working for a catering company at the time, and you know, like people get, I don't know, they get married on the weekend. I don't know. I guess they figure that's when all the people they're trying to get out
you'll be available.
Most likely to be available. So it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 12, 13 hours. Boom, boom, boom. You know what I mean? Like the middle of that fucking Saturday, dude, your feet are trash.
Oh, yeah.
You're stepping on knives, dude, and like...
Bartending?
Yeah.
I've done the exact same work.
Like not even just the bartending. I like moved around. So sometimes I was like washing dishes. Sometimes I was doing that. Sometimes I was running the floor, like running these.
And for catering,
plates.
you have to set up and strike.
Set up and strike down.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's so much.
Yeah.
And yeah, I started popping the Vikes, and a friend of mine who had got shot in the leg when he was 19 because he just dated this girl who dated a crazy guy. We live in a crazy world, man. You never know, dude. But anyway, yeah, I was kind of mixing those, and I don't know, it didn't take very long. There was like a very brief period that I spent in Oxyland, but like I was kind of like darkly interested in heroin for me. I was always a pretty, you know, there's people who, you know, if you had met them when they were 12, you'd be like, you are a fucking agent of doom. You know what I mean? Just like that. I was like, God is not real when I was like 12 years old. You know what I mean? I've softened my tune on that since then, but you know what I'm saying?
I don't know, you seem pretty nihilistic online.
Well, you know, people assume that about me. But the truth is, I used to be nihilistic when I used drugs and alcohol. I mean, we're talking really nihilistic. We're talking like squirting fucking syringe blood on the walls nihilistic. But, like...
Why would you do that?
Well, you know, I don't really know. I mean, at the time, I was shooting up a lot of Ambien, and it was probably affecting my thought process.
You were shooting Ambien?
Yeah, man.
What would that do? It would put you right to sleep, right?
No, dude. The rush is like very hard to describe.
Dude, that's when you're a kid, you do the most reckless shit. My dad had Ambien, my friends and I would steal it, get really fucked up, like drunk, and then would blow it. Yeah. We could have died.
Yeah,
you know?
maybe.
I mean, it's not as bad as shooting it. That's wild.
You know, it's very structurally similar to benzodiazepines.
Yeah. It's called a Z drug.
Right.
Yeah.
But benzos in general are not water soluble. So, like, all you motherfuckers snorting your Xanbars out there, you better hope they're cut with fentanyl, because otherwise you're not getting high.
That's a hot take.
Everybody carry Narcan. Hit up my homie Joelle. She gives out free kits.
Yeah, I mean, do you know who Hamilton Morris is?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, Joelle was recently on his podcast.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Yeah.
I was so jealous, but also happy for her.
Yeah.
Also jealous. Fuck you. No.
Yeah.
No, it's cool. I want to listen to it, but it's behind. You have to pay.
A paywall?
Yeah, it's one of those.
We do that
it's
too.
Not one of the free ones.
But no, he was talking about Ambien and how like its structure is like a benzo, but he's of the opinion that it's the most disinhibiting drug known to man.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think so. I mean,
and I've like taken Xanax and done just really reckless shit, you know?
I think that gentleman probably hadn't run into any research chemical benzos, but foregoing those, yeah, absolutely.
So you've done a research chemical benzo that's even more disinhibiting than like a Xanax?
Yeah, I mean, there's this stuff, and I don't know if they have any like new ones out now. Like, I quit all this shit in like late 2017. I got sober January 30th, 2018. So, clonazepam, flubromazepam, diclazepam, these are all benzo-like structures. And I don't know like where they came from. They're just research chemicals. They're in a legal gray area. So I don't know if you can still do this now, but
you just buy them online.
I was just buying them from this fucking website on the ClearNet. Fucking give them Bitcoin, and I would have like mind erasers, like a 50 bag of them in my fucking mailbox in 2 days. And I had already had a very strong benzo tolerance. Like at the time, I was like at the depths of my addiction. So I had a fucking opioid.
That's really dangerous to mix opioids and benzos.
Well, I was an alcoholic
all
too,
the time.
so it was all three: alcohol, opioids, benzos, every fucking day.
Sleepy.
Yeah, I was dealing with some trauma in a very unhealthy way, but I started fucking around with that shit, and like after having not done it in like 2 or 3 years, I was like, I should start smoking crack again. Like that's how disinhibiting that shit is. And then later on, I don't know if I did. I don't know if I or my laptop set my apartment on fire, but that was sort of
what happened there.
All right, man. So when I was living in New Orleans, I like basically experienced the very beginning of the fentanyl wave when nobody knew what the fuck was going on and just people were dying. And one of those people was my best friend, and so that was very traumatizing. I was there for the whole thing. And then I had my own fentanyl overdose that I survived, and I was just like, man, I want to die, but not this week. I gotta fucking get out of here, man. And my father had told me, there's this place that's like 45 minutes away from the hometown that I grew up in, called Delta State University. That has this really good music program because they have the Grammy Museum there and everything. And I was doing like interning at music studios down in New Orleans in addition to my bartending and junkie-ing. And so it was like the logical fit. And in my mind, I'm like, I can get a scholarship and a grant to this place. So all I have to do is pass their stupid tests and I can get free drug and alcohol money and just fucking drink myself to death. And that's exactly what I did. I fucking, keep in mind, I'm like 31 at the time. And then my first semester, I have like a fucking 3.8 and I've gotten a DUI on a class trip. I've been written up for being fucked up in class like multiple times. Like I'm really just trying to exist and just like numb my pain like most addicts, but it's hard to do when you like there's a level of
high functioning though. You still had a good GPA.
Yeah. Well, see, here's the thing. My mind was always that was the issue. Like my mind was refused to relent. I'm like, fucking stay down.
Yeah.
And it like I've abused so many drugs that should have like made my memory of certain things hazy that it's just like crystal clear. So I guess I just got one of those weird brains or something. But
how'd you light your apartment on fire?
So I don't know if it was me or not. I just know that I had a lighter in the apartment and I had been like smoking meth within the last couple of days. That's all I know for sure because I was on just like so many drugs. I was on research chemical benzos, Suboxone, alcohol.
What do those research chemical benzos feel like?
Well, it's hard. Benzos are such bullshit because
Do they make you less sleepy or more sleepy than like a Xanax?
benzos are the biggest hoodwink of all of the popular drugs because one of the features of how fucked up you get on those is you don't realize you're as fucked up as you are.
Yeah.
When I lived in New Orleans, there was this period of time where I was fucking around with this just pure alprazolam powder that I was getting off of Silk Road. So I would get like a little fucking half-gram baggie that would be the equivalent of like 250 Xanax bars. And I'd have to like break it down in powdered sugar to even be able to touch it, basically.
Jesus.
And I would think I wasn't very fucked up on that shit, and I would be walking down the street and I would come to on the ground, like having just fallen out from under my feet.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
On Bourbon Street?
No, luckily I was. This was.
That's where you bartended though, on Bourbon, right?
Well, one of the places it was like this daiquiri shop, and they had several locations on Bourbon and several locations on Decatur. And depending on which period of time you're talking about that I worked there, at the beginning I was on Bourbon all the time. I think it was like close to a big push, like a tourist push. They have like 1 million of them in New Orleans.
Yeah.
But, then after that, the Decatur stores were more like have one person open and close it, so less traffic, but all the money goes to you. And I also worked at this place called Deja Vu Bar and Grill, which I think it's like Burgundy and Dauphine, I believe, is the intersection. Anyway, it's one block off of Bourbon Street, and like multiple times I have been near a shooting.
Yeah.
And had like just people just running in to the fucking bar, and now everybody's just like standing there like a fucking, packed in there like a sardine can, and you're like, great. I'm trying to like make some fucking heroin money here, guys.
I interrupted you. I derailed you a couple times.
Oh no, you're fine.
You were telling about your fire incident.
Right. So I'm on all these drugs, and I'm just like cooking in the kitchen. And at the time, I was frying with a lot of oil, and also I had a really finicky smoke alarm. So that's what I was doing. I'm in the kitchen, the smoke alarm goes off. I'm like, and then I'm like thinking that maybe I need to turn this fucking burner down because the oil is smoking. But then I realized that the smoke is diffuse. And I'm like, what? And then I walk into the back room and my bed is like on fire. The fire is like up to the ceiling. I'm like, fuck. I stupidly like try to go get some water. And I'm like, oh yeah. No, like after I tried that one time, I was like, oh, we're way beyond that. That was fucking dumb. I'm like wasting my time. I need to get out of here before I die. And so
it's like, what was on fire? Just like
the bed, and I mean it was like the entire mattress though, like up to the ceiling. Like people in the apartment complex realized my apartment was on fire before I did. That's how but like, yeah, it was just a crazy night. Like after that, like obviously the cops knew I was fucked up, and like I got into a fight with my parents. I should have just went with them back to their house, but I'm like, drunk, belligerent. I'm like wandering around the city, and eventually, so there's this thing that can happen. Now I've asked several times on my Instagram, on my story, like followers, like, hey, has this ever happened to you? Because this is the craziest shit that's ever happened to me, and it's like, it's repeatable. So there was a period of time where I was abusing a lot of benzos and a lot of Adderall. And if you abuse Adderall for long enough, you can go into amphetamine psychosis. Once you're in amphetamine psychosis...
What is that? Is that like mania?
It's actually... clinically indistinguishable from certain types of schizophrenia.
Oh, really?
But it's like paranoia, hallucinations, audio and visual. You know, you see like the shit where like people on meth are like, there's fucking fucking cameras in my speakers.
Yeah, it's that.
That's amphetamine psychosis.
Yeah.
Once you're in that state and you induce like a sleep state with like a benzo type chemical, you run the risk of creating like this, like, I guess like a sleepwalking state where you're just in full like Hulk mode, full rage mode. If anybody's around you, they could get hurt. Like we're talking like just trashing your entire apartment, and then
you're always rage. It's not just like a sleepwalk.
No, you're sleepwalking. Like you don't know what's happening, and then a couple of minutes later, you come to and you're trying to break your fucking window from the inside out, and you're like, "What am I doing?"
How many times did that happen to you?
That happened to me like once. It was either once or twice in New Orleans, to where I was like, "That was crazy." The first time I was like, "I don't know what that was," and then the second time I was like,
What was the situation?
No situation.
Like how did you come to?
I came to trying to break my own window from the inside out. There was a knife, a huge kitchen knife on my bed. I had taken one of my bedside tables and smashed it into pieces. Jesus. On the ground.
Yeah. Second time?
I don't remember. That's one of them things that I'm like, I don't know, did I block something really nasty out?
Yeah.
This time, like, after a certain point of me wandering around being crazy, the cops are like, look, man, you got it. Because here's what I'm trying to do.
Careful, don't touch the mic.
What I'm trying to do is figure out if any of my drugs survived. Because I'm like physically dependent on all this shit. I just got the refills. I'm like, oh my God. It's like just about to be the weekend. Like,
and that was from Adderall that you went into amphetamine psychosis.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Like in terms of like the actual high, yes, there's a huge difference between Adderall and meth and stuff like that. But amphetamine psychosis is amphetamine psychosis. It's a stimulated nervous system in combination with sleep deprivation. It creates fucking weird and bad results. As a matter of fact,
I'm shocked that you had sleep deprivation being on benzos and heroin all the time.
Yeah, well, you know, once those amphetamines get into the mix, it changes it up.
Yeah.
Like the way the cycle would work is, when I moved out, I had a Suboxone doctor when I lived in New Orleans, and basically, I was sort of like filtering heroin out of my life slowly. Like when I first started Suboxone, I was just like hardly even going to the office. And then finally, it got to where I was only doing heroin once a week. And then it got to where I was like only relapsing once every month or two. And then, when my best friend died, I stopped doing heroin, and it wasn't even like a moral thing. Like I'm gonna do this. It's just like something inside of me.
What happened?
I don't know. I could go pick up a bag of heroin.
No, what happened to your friend?
Oh, she overdosed. Using with me drugs that she asked me to get us from a source that up until the fentanyl thing, so we're talking years, had been 100% solid. Like the type of plug that you don't even want you don't even want people to know you have. Like when I picked up from him, I would make people like park down the fucking, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because when you're
someone that you trusted that much, it's still
and it's it's not his fault.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm not trying to whatever. Like I don't want to get into a debate about the ethics of being a heroin dealer, but like as far as like the shit being contaminated with fentanyl, nobody knew what was going on at first.
Yeah. You're sure that's what it was? You're sure it wasn't just, she could have taken too much?
Well, here's the thing, man. I ripped her off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, she gave me a certain amount of money. I think it was like not much, like $50 or something. And I took like 90% of that bag. I took that bag into the bathroom. I took most of it for myself, knowing that I had a huge tolerance and she didn't. And that I was actually worried that she wasn't going to get high enough and was going to be pissed off that I took so much.
Yeah.
And I, so at the time, this is like 2013, 2014. And like Narcan spray is not a thing yet, but, you know, you use needles on a regular basis. You get to know folks, and there's this place in, well, not a place, this organization of folks in New Orleans called Tristereo. Shout out Tristereo. They are still active in New Orleans today. And they were just distributing harm reduction supplies, guerrilla style. And sometimes I would help them out with little shit, just like give them rides. And they gave me like an ampule of Narcan. So like, I like intramuscularly injected Narcan into this chick's thigh 5 times and then called the paramedics. And then I watched them put this thing.
What was she? Was she like foaming at the mouth? What was it like when someone's over?
She was just completely fucking unresponsive. I gave her CPR. It was like a whole...
She was breathing?
It was like up close and personal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was like, breathing. No?
No, she wasn't breathing. That's why I gave her CPR.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was a really fucked up situation. And I don't know. I could go pick up heroin for my friends after that. And I would just be like, give me $10, you know, for going to get it. And I would just go get like a half pint or something. I didn't have any desire to do it. And it used to be like my whole fucking world. That wasn't like the last time.
How did that affect, like, I'm sure that was really hard on you.
Yeah, I mean, it fucked me up. I mean, that's why I was a big portion of why I was acting so crazy when I went back to school, because, I mean, I had been a drug addict for a while, but I was medium functional. You know what I mean? I could keep jobs from anywhere to like 6 to 18 months. I could support myself. I could pay rent, pay for my habit, feed myself occasionally. You know? And this was different. Like, I had like switched over. I was like barely fun. Like, I'm glad that all I had to do was go to class, man, because, you know what I mean? I was like drinking like a liter of vodka a day. It's like gaining a lot of weight, starting to develop a lot of health problems. Many of which have cleared up now, but, you know, some of those consequences still remain. And, yeah, the fire happened, and then I ended up getting sober. And,
when a friend passes away like that, but you're so loaded all the time, like it blunts it, right? But it still hits you, but it's probably...
Yeah, well, you know, it's like, I guess I would liken it to like trying to bury a radioactive isotope, you know what I mean? Like, and keep it from contaminating the ground. Like, it doesn't really matter how deep you bury that motherfucker. It's just gonna like rot from the inside out until it reaches the outside. Yeah. So like I went to a new Suboxone doctor after it happened. And I cried about it like one time on the way home, and I like made this internal decision. I'm like never going to think about this or feel anything about this again. But it's like burying radioactive isotope, I guess. It's like it doesn't matter how deep you bury the motherfucker. It's like it'll rot you until it reaches the outside. So it's like, yes, it's blunted, but it's also like spread out. So like you're just like very miserable. And it doesn't seem to have a cause. You've sort of like flattened it out almost. And so you're just living a miserable life as a miserable person.
Ugh.
Like you just, you know. And, you know, a lot of that is on me. And then a lot of it is just like not knowing what to do. Or knowing like what's real. You know what I mean? Because let's be real, man. Like the psychiatric industry is, I mean, they do a lot of torture. You know what I mean? They do a lot of torture of kids.
In what way?
Well, a lot of these facilities, man, are staffed with people who don't give a fuck about the people that are in there. You can go on Instagram right now and find like psych ward nurse pages that joke about like overdrugging the patients and keeping them in restraints for longer than necessary because they don't want to deal with them. And I personally have several friends who are in the younger generation, Gen Z, who have spent a lot of time in facilities like that as kids, and it like ruined their fucking mental health. And I've even talked to some adults who, you know, they get sent off to some place when they're a teenager. It's sold as some good thing to their parents. Their parents are in a panic mode because for whatever reason they've got it in their head, I've got to like save my child.
Right.
And here comes the fucking white knight, like, all right, I'll save your child for fucking, you know, 1999, 95, or whatever. But like, I don't know, dude. Like,
I've heard terrible things.
There's this one place in particular that operates out of Puerto Rico, and I'm really pissed that I can't think of the name off the top of my head now, but I think they are like a Christian-based deal, and this is like, they give you like one toilet roll a week that's your personal toilet roll, and if you lose it, fuck you, like the weird shit like that, and just like fucking these kids up. The biggest thing that I see, and I mean, I even see to myself in a less pronounced way, you know, I experienced my own trauma as a kid, but I was never put away anywhere, you know, I was just like medicated early and, you know, all of that shit, but it's like this pervasive feeling that they're a terrible person. And usually they're just like so good and nice to everyone around them, but there's this they've been invalidated so much, and they've been told so much that everything that they're doing is for attention, that they've internalized it so deeply that, I mean, shit, if I knew how to get it out of there, I would have already done it.
Yeah.
It's fucked up. So to trust the agents, and I mean, of course, too, like, those people are like, just best case scenario, they're trying to patch you up so you can get back to being a fucking cog in the capitalist machine. Right?
Yeah, totally.
So I don't really, you know, if you're like lost and looking for answers and you have any kind of wits about you, you're like, what's real? Like, everything that you're saying sounds like something, but also you're full of shit. So, you know, and of course, being on the drugs and alcohol make it harder to reason out what's going on because you're clouding your brain up, trying to numb yourself emotionally, but like, you don't even think about how it's affecting you cognitively. I know, I didn't give a fucking shit. I was like, I will just get these grades. I'll figure it out.
It's pretty incredible that you got sober.
Yeah, I mean, it was really bizarre how it all went down, and I don't really know that I have a whole lot of credit in how it did, but I will say that, like, once it got underway, yeah, it was like definitely some upfront costs, like, you know, coming from the type of drug and alcohol abuse that I was engaging in, apartment fire era, it took me about 3 months to detox. And we're talking like hardcore physical detox, very medically unadvisable to do. I just fucking like, I quit the alcohol outright, and I took like the Subutex and benzos, and like drew up a plan. I just like gave them to my dad. I was like, don't listen to me. You know what I mean? Do it like this and don't change it at all, no matter what I say. And that worked. And again, I'm not saying, you know what I mean? I wouldn't recommend it. Pretty risky in like every way possible.
I mean, what was the worst moment of it? Like the pain or the sickness?
I remember when I was like first really like I quit the alcohol outright, and I was really stepping down the benzos quickly in the beginning, because
those are the 3 drugs with the worst withdrawals.
Yeah.
And all at the same time.
Yes.
That's wild. Yeah.
It's gnarly. So I had like these police lights flashing under my eyelids just like all the time, every time I closed my eyes for a couple of weeks. Just red and blue, just under my eyes. And like, you know, when you're detoxing from stuff like that, like the anxiety is already through the roof. Mm-hmm. You don't need like stimulation like that to drive you crazy. But like, yeah, man, it was definitely say something about not just that withdrawal, but like certain drug withdrawals in general. Once you reach a certain pain threshold, your brain cannot retain a memory of it. Like, not for long. That's why you're like, man, fucking heroin withdrawal, it sucks. Why do you go back? It's like, yeah, it sucks so bad that you really can't remember exactly how bad it was. Like, even a month from, when it happened. And that's when, the fucking amygdala starts kicking in, like, it wasn't that bad.
When you're in a withdrawal, like, when do you start feeling like the light at the end of the tunnel, like, starts petering out?
It's like, it depends on what drug it is, how long you've been using it, and how much you've been using. Those are the 3 main factors.
You say, like, how easy when a withdrawal ends depends on those 3 things. You're not going to hear my question.
Yeah. Wait, what do I say?
It's like the way to, like, how smoothly.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah. So how long a withdrawal period will last depends on primarily 3 factors. You've got how long you've been using, what drug you've been using, and how much of it you've been using. So for me, I was addicted to opioids physically for like over half a decade. And I had been physically dependent on both the alcohol and the benzos for 2 or 3 years. So like my shit was like not okay for a minute. But the transformation was pretty rapid. Not only in like mentally and emotionally, like neurochemically or whatever, but like because I didn't really drink very much before my best friend died. But like when you like stop, when you fall out of love with heroin, man, that like leaves a big fucking hole.
Yeah.
Like hard to fill, That's where all like the poly drug abuse started popping up again, because for the longest time before, when I was a heroin addict, I bought and did heroin. That's fucking it, man. I didn't even smoke weed. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I'm on. And then, once that ended, it just branched out into all this shit. And I got into alcohol, and it quickly progressed. And this is something that's very common, too. Because I've seen it happen for other people. The heroin addict that gets off of heroin instantly becomes a low bottom alcoholic, usually stalls out there and says, at least I'm not doing dope, man, like da-da-da. But like you're essentially like taking the energy of a heroin habit and applying it to drinking alcohol. So of course you're going to become a fucking low bottom drunk in no time. And So I was like 70 pounds overweight, and I'm like 5'11", usually like 155. That's like a lot on my frame. And I was dropping like 2-3 pounds a day in the beginning. Not even doing anything, but not drinking.
Yeah.
Because it was all like alcohol related.
Yeah.
So, I was like physically transforming.
When you were drinking that much, would you eat a lot, or would you just get all your calories from booze?
My stomach was trashed, man. I could barely eat. Seriously.
So you would just get all your calories from booze?
Mostly. It's funny too because I fucking started doing that Blue Apron shit during that period of time.
What's that? The cooking?
It's like they send you the ingredients and the recipes to your house in like a chilled box, and then you cook it yourself. It's a really good way to like teach yourself to cook if you don't know anything.
Yeah.
Specifically, I hear that Blue Apron is good for. I think that's what Blue Apron means. It's like a new kitchen staff or something. Wear the Blue Apron or something. But I got into it, and I was like taking these meticulous like pictures of these beautiful plates of food, fucking eggs Benedict, steak and all this shit. Meanwhile, if you were to just like zoom out, you would just see like bags of trash and like used needles and shit everywhere.
That's really funny. I mean, yeah.
But I wouldn't
how filthy was your place?
So gross, dude. The first one, there was one before the one that burned down, and like, luckily for me, the building was so old that it was like about to be condemned, and so I had to move out of the apartment because of that. My floor was starting to like fall in. But there's like German roaches, dude, and just like stuff everywhere. Like gnats, fucking dishes in the sink all the time. Just the like, if you could just imagine like only having the energy to like do drugs or like seek drugs. And then like on the side you go like take some stupid fucking test. So, with that whole shit, it was like I had to keep a certain grade point average per semester. So this one summer, I am not good at math. Like as great as I am at like English and language and all of that stuff, I am fucking dumb as shit in math. And I don't have a good math education because I got kicked out of high school a lot. Obviously, microeconomics, this course is very math heavy, and I'm taking it online. And I'm like, I just don't have it together to like give it. Like this class is really, I feel like this class is demanding of me like 80% of my mental capacity, and I just can't bring it. Not in my fucking bedroom during the summertime. And I'm like, doing a lot of Adderall, and like, the more that enters the picture, the more crazy shit that you do and like starts to happen. So I'm like trying to take notes, and then there's just like, it starts to be these weird drawings that turn into fucking like poems that don't make any sense. Dude, you're trying to do a graph, like. It's a microeconomics graph. Like, what the fuck? So I thought that I was doing poorly for me, which was that I was getting a C. I was getting like 70s on the tests and stuff. And I couldn't. I needed to get a B in order to keep the scholarship. So I'm freaking out the whole time. I'm emailing the professor. And she keeps like being real vague and just saying like, I think you're going to be fine. Like, I'm like, no, but see, I'm like trying to explain to her. Meanwhile, I'm fucking on speed, so who knows what I think is going on. And, I take the final and all shakes out. That thing was fucking graded on a curve. So these tests that I thought that I was doing horrible on, I had the highest grade in the class, man. I got like an A in the highest grade in the class, and I was like the most mentally well I've ever been in my life. So, yeah, like what that shit demanded of me was not a lot.
It's crazy how insane people can be, but still actually like function at a job or at school.
Yeah, sure, man.
I've heard a lot of addicts who are like high function like that, where they would just be like obliterated,
sure,
like drunk in school and have like straight A's.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that was pretty much me. Like, I think the big thing with me, you know, being ADHD, it can kind of like put a strain on your relationships with other people. So like, I think those people who thrive in the workplace also have this extra skill of being able to like manipulate the people around them and like fit into environments and, you know what I mean? Not stand out, get in where they fit in, you know, all that shit. I do not have that skill, bro. That's why I'm like, God damn, I gotta like become famous or something, or I'm never gonna have any money. No one's ever gonna hire me.
But so how long have you been sober?
Well, okay, so this is where the contention comes in, because you've got the 12 steppers and the A's who are like weed, whatever. And it has actually has helped me a lot, like various times during my recovery journey. Particularly in the beginning, I'm coming off of all of that shit, dude. Like smoking weed at night was literally the only thing that was getting me any sleep for months. And yeah, that and like going to meetings kept me sane. So it's like there's these two groups of people who are always fighting. 12 steps. You can do a little bit.
Yeah.
You know? And I'm like, look, both of these things were very helpful to me. These are pieces that I've put together over time. But I think that I have a light case of Ehlers-Danlos syndrome.
What is that?
It's like a connective tissue disorder that can present in varying severities, and it has like specific traits and symptoms, like eyes that slant down, like Paul McCartney's is a good example.
I don't know if it noticed his eyes.
Go look at a picture of him later.
Okay.
His eyes go like this.
Okay.
And like very stretchy. Like some people who have it bad, their joints pop out of socket a lot. I am just like super stretchy.
So like you can like contort and shit.
I'm like a master yogi, and I don't know anything about yoga. Yeah, like you could show me a position, cool. I could do it. Yeah,
it's kind of like a skill.
Sure, it's definitely like and I think that there is a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? Like people who are neurodivergent often have this disorder.
Really?
Wait, hold on. What's the fuck? Oh yeah. So when you have that, you are more susceptible to developing this condition called avascular necrosis, which
doesn't sound good.
A bone disease where your bone tissue dies slowly inside of you. And I had given myself that bone disease through having this syndrome that I didn't know that I had, and abusing alcohol very suddenly and extremely. And so about like a year and a half into my recovery, I had to get my left hip replaced, and fucking relearn how to walk,
Jesus.
Take opioids as an opioid addict. My parents helped me through that, and I got through it without any like, you know, relapses or anything like that.
You never did like methadone or anything like that?
Yeah, and also it's important, I think, when you're doing shit like that, just get all of the fucking medical team on board. Let them know. I let them know. Once you put that fucking morphine in my body, don't listen to me.
Yeah.
You know? I'm going to tell you to put more in there.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I actually severely limited my use. It was like morphine in the hospital one day. I was on perks for like 5 days, and then just tramadol for 2 weeks, and that was it for a fucking hip replacement. And people usually stay on shit way longer, but I just was like, look, man,
That's impressive.
Thank you. And so,
Well, like you were just probably dying to get more, right?
well, it wasn't really that. You know, it was a long journey to even get the diagnosis.
Yeah.
Figure out what the fuck is going on, because it's not something you can generally pick up on an X-ray unless you like know what you're looking for. And so I was like in extreme pain, and I couldn't use this fucking leg. I was like limping around, and it gotten to where it was like, when I first got sober, I thought I sprained my hip, basically, and it seemed like it would get better, and it would kind of get worse, and it seemed like it would kind of get better, and it's just like going downhill, right? And so eventually I can, I'm just limping around. I'm like, please cut this motherfucker out of my body and put some metal in there. And I mean, it was like, it obviously having a major surgery like that is a different type of pain. But like, even in the very beginning, I could tell that the pain was like different. You know what I mean? It feels different when there's like tissue inside of your body like dying, and when you're like healing from a major injury. All those little micro feelings that go along with that are very different, and that was satisfying to be like, okay, cool. Like it wasn't too long. I was like, I sped through everything. Typical ADHD. I was supposed to use a cane. I just went straight through the cane. I went from walker to just like walking on my own. And I did like 2 months of physical therapy. And then
you don't even have a limp or anything. You walk fine.
Yeah, it's fine. And so I moved to St. Louis then. That was like 3 months before the pandemic. And then maybe about 7 months later, 8 months later, because I told them that my knees were hurting too. And I'd gotten a bunch of x-rays. I'm like, we don't see anything. They got one MRI on the fucking way out the door. I'd finally gotten the surgeon who had cut me open to do the fucking MRI. And just the string to get to him is such a long list of medical professionals. You're just like, dude, can you guys just take a fucking picture or something, for Jesus fucking sake? But I had been having a little bit of knee pain. I was like, maybe I should check it. And I fucking called him, and he was like, oh yeah, I see some infarcts, which is like dead tissue, areas of dead tissue. And so we need to do this thing called core decompression on both of your knees. So what they do there, this is like modern enhanced. They drill into your kneecap with a bone drill. And the idea is that the hole relieves pressure, which increases blood flow, that's what's causing the bone death. There's like a restriction in blood flow. The cell turnover can't keep at a constant rate, and the tissue starts to die. So like, the hope is that plus taking your own stem cells out of your bone marrow and injecting it into the holes will stimulate new bone growth. And essentially, the surgery worked. Like, I don't have any infarcts anymore. But I also can't run. Unless I have to be like running from the cops. It has to be like adrenaline. Like, I can't like jog around the neighborhood.
It just hurts.
Yeah, it's like, I can't do it.
Yeah.
And I deal with like chronic pain, extreme chronic pain from both of those things. Not as much with the hip, but it's, it's still a piece of
Does the
fucking
weed
metal.
help with that?
That's what I was getting to, basically.
Yeah.
It's like, I quit weed for the initial surgery, and nicotine too. That was fucking gnarly, actually. It was a legitimate detox, for real. But
how does that compare? Kicking nicotine? Because, yeah, I mean, I've smoked on and off my whole life, and I don't find it very hard to stop.
I found the psychological component of it very challenging the first time.
Yeah.
Before the surgery. But after the surgery, I didn't go back to smoking, but I started vaping. And eventually, I got to a point where I was ready to quit that. And basically, it was a confluence of factors that had motivated me to not just ditch the nicotine, because it's like an inflammatory chemical, and I'm trying to manage chronic pain here. Initially, I tried CBD. I spent like $400 fucking dollars on.
I think CBD is snake oil.
I didn't get anything out of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm a goddamn heroin addict. I can't lie to myself if I don't feel something.
Yeah.
And I just wasn't getting any damn relief. And
yeah.
lo and behold, this place that I was going to get the gummies, I'd gotten a sample pack, and I was going back to get some more to see if I could take a shitload and it would do something. And I was like, what's the most popular gummies that you got here? And it's like, these are the ones, man. So I'm like, all right, man, well, I took fucking 5 of those motherfucking sample CBDs, and I didn't get shit. But I'm not going to be reckless. I'll just take 2 of them to start, and we'll see what happens. So, like, flash forward like a fucking hour and a half later, and I'm like, fucking stoned. Like, I am fucking I'm like, edible high. And I'm like, what is going on? So I'm like, what is going on? And so these gummies had Delta 8.
Oh, yeah, I know about Delta 8, yeah.
And so Delta 8 was my bridge, basically, to THC. I was on Delta 8 most of the time because I was in St. Louis, and I'm like, look, I'm using this to treat something. I'm not going to do anything illegal. That fucking shit is past me. You know what I mean? I'm not going to a dude's house to get a thing anymore. I've done enough of that. So, I stuck with that. And then when I was in California, I was just ordering off of a website. And for a while here, I was still just doing the D8 because it was still more financially sound. I had an internet plug where I was getting like $20 cards. But then suddenly that increased to like 38 overnight, and the THC products became more financially viable. Plus, they're legal here in Vegas. So I was like, it's stupid and stubborn for me not to switch. And the only reason I wouldn't is because of some, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, ooh, weed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're still getting high off it, too.
I mean, the D8...
It's like the same high, it's just like shittier weed, basically, right?
Yeah, well, D8 is a degraded version of Delta 9 tetracannabinol. And so it was about, I found that it was in the beginning, and maybe this is because of the reduced strength, I don't know, but like when I didn't really have like a tolerance or anything like that, it was much more forgiving on the anxiety tip than weed, Yeah. I know we've all had those moments where we hadn't smoked in a long time, and like we're hanging out with some friends and you hit that shit and you're like,
yeah.
The last time that shit happened to me, man, I had to like go into their bathroom, and I'm just like I'm laying on the ground of these. I don't know them. I don't know what's going on their bathroom floor, but I can't not do this. And my entire body is just like drenched in sweat. I am like having a reaction to this fucking blunt, dude. I don't know what is going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude. I like it for that, and I like it for I mean, I still keep a couple of D8 cards around for like when I'm working.
Yeah.
You know,
It really helps with the pain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like they're whatever the shit is in them is not. You know what I mean? They didn't siphon it from a weed plant.
Yeah.
So even though they're like weed type smells, it's less pungent than actual weed oil. So when you're like in an enclosed space like a car, it's not.
You grew up in the Mississippi Delta?
Yeah, I grew up in the Mississippi Delta.
Is it really like racist there?
Yeah, sure. It's racist as fuck, and you know, there's not really a whole lot to do there. Like,
how does that racism manifest?
You know, the first time that I experienced it, actually was, I guess, like, in my direction. I had this, you know, I went to this Catholic school, and like obviously places like that, the white people generally have more money and are going to the private schools, and there isn't a whole lot of black students, but you'll usually have one or two. And there was this one kid when I was in first grade, and we liked to play Ninja Turtles at recess together. And then one day I was like, hey man, we should have like a sleepover or something. He was like, oh yeah, you can't come over because my grandmother hates white people. I was like, you know, it's like, I think everybody has that moment where you realize something is a thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's when I was like, oh, that's I think when I was first made aware of racism. And then I started observing the other adults around me and saw the, you know, the other side, obviously.
Yeah.
Which is much more prevalent.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So like what? Because not being from the South, it seems like, is it overhyped? Is it really as racist as people outside think it is?
I think that it depends on whose home you're in, who you're talking to, and how many drinks they've had. You know, so, like it's not overt. Like, people assume it's just like, you know, whatever. Like, people just yelling slurs in the street. No, it's not that. Southern people, they like to retire to the boudoir and pour a nightcap and talk hella shit on whoever. You know what I mean? It's like behind closed doors type shit. I think, especially now. I always just kind of conceptualized it in my head as like, that place is like 20 years behind everywhere else.
Yeah.
It just always will be. If you go back 20 years from right now and the place that you grew up, it's probably an equal amount of racist.
So it's like the early 2000s.
Basically.
Yeah. What about your folks?
Well, yeah, man. I definitely saw it in them. Not in any extreme amount or anything like that, but just like a casual.
Yeah.
I think, you know, people who are born in a, you know, at a certain time, they have a lot of catch up that they have to do, because where they're coming from is even worse. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, you know, that's fucked up.
There's not like the Klan down there, is there?
I don't know. I can't really speak to that because I don't know. I've never come across, but I wouldn't, if someone was like, oh yeah, blah, 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 I wouldn't be like, surprised. Oh my God.
Explain what the Mississippi Delta is to people who've never heard of it.
So home of the blues, Mississippi Delta is home of the blues. Like B.B. King's from there. You know, all kinds of famous blues musicians that you probably don't know who the fuck they are. You know, I think this dude Leadbelly is from my area. I'm not 100% sure though.
But it's culturally very like, it's like the most like potent Southern culture there.
I mean, it's just like people come from all over the world to come check out that area and other parts of this thing called the Blues Trail. You know, for nerds who are interested in that story. But you know, when you're living there, it's like.
So it didn't feel that culture different than maybe like parts of Louisiana to you?
Sure, nah. I mean, you know, New Orleans
is different.
It's got its own, you know, swagger going on, but I mean, you can rest assured pretty much anywhere in the South is like there's like I don't even know, like a shaky truce at best. Mm. All the fucking towns are like fucking unofficially segregated, it seems like, and it's accepted, you know what I mean? There's white neighborhoods and there's black neighborhoods.
Well, one thing I think of is that movie Paradise Lost. You ever see that?
I haven't seen it.
The West Memphis 3. Those kids that were tried on death row and like they were convicted because they were like kind of goth kids.
Sure.
And like you were a rebellious kid.
Yeah.
Did people look at you like some kind of pariah in a conservative town?
Oh yeah, it was like I couldn't have picked a better word, honestly. You know, because of the ADHD, I was not popular in elementary school, and then once I hit puberty, you know, I mean, I felt like I had two options. I could either fucking keep sucking shit from these fucking people who are never going to accept me, or I could fucking flip them the bird, you know what I mean? And that was, the second thing was a lot more appealing to me as a young person.
Yeah.
So I started like rebelling, like, you know, wearing gothic clothes and like, you know, experimenting with drugs, smoking cigarettes and all this stuff. And then one of the first like nationally publicized school shootings happened in Pearl, Mississippi, actually.
Huh. What year was that?
I think it was like 1997.
So right before Columbine?
I'm like, it's like before Columbine. And Columbine wasn't too far
after it. That was 97 too, I think.
Yeah.
Or maybe 98.
Too far after it. It was either that year or the next year, but I was like going into high school, 9th grade. And so, immediately got like pigeonholed as like the school shooter kid. Like, meanwhile, I'm like very like, you know, a kind-hearted person. It sucks when people like make you have to be scary when you're nice.
Yeah.
Well, imagine how those gentle giants feel.
You had friends who were also kind of rebellious.
Yeah, but and I mean they did their own shit. I guess I can't really speak to how it felt for them. Mm-hmm. But I had a tough time fitting in, period. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
How do you think ADHD made that?
Well, I'm still learning more about it in terms of like how it affects our relationships. But I mean, we have like emotional dysregulation.
Yeah.
You know, we can fly off the handle and say some shit we don't really mean real quick. Uh-huh. And now we've got, you know, it's something that's happened in half a second, and we've got like days of emotional damage to clean up.
Yeah.
And, keeping dates, responsibilities, remembering things. Like, it's just...
Yeah. But how would that affect... I mean, you just kind of explained it, but like, just like when you're in grade school, like how do kids pick that up?
Like when I was younger, I was known like as a kid who would fight.
Oh, really?
I kind of grew out of that once I got into high school.
Why?
Probably because I didn't become muscular because of the Ehlers-Danlos. That's another thing. Like,
you weren't muscular and that meant that you would fight?
No, like, all these other dudes are getting fucking huge.
Yeah.
I'm not...
They're
like,
picking on you.
Well, yeah, and I'm not gonna, like... I wasn't at that point... trying to prove myself in that way. And it wasn't really about that when I was a kid. I don't even know. Like, I don't even remember any time I fought a kid except for one time. And it was because we were in kindergarten. He was like the school bully, and he fucking like he's like got this crowd of kids around him, right? And he's like, "Look, check this shit out." And he's like over by this puddle, and he just like steps on this fucking frog and kills it, just to like impress these fucking kids. And I'm like, motherfucker, you gonna die today. So I wait for him to fucking.
This is great.
I wait for him to go up on the slide, and he goes down the slide, and I wait for him to get to the very bottom, and I jump on him, and I just start fucking wailing on him. And then, of course, like, the teachers come and break it up, but he's got the bully reputation, so I just blamed the fight on him, and he got in trouble. I got let go.
Well done, well done.
Yeah, man.
Sticking up for the frogs.
Yeah, frogs especially. We love frogs.
So, I mean, you were a rebellious kid. You said you had some pretty deep trauma at some point. You don't have to get into that if you don't want to.
Yeah, well, you know, like, there's being a hometown pariah, which is a particular type of trauma that I don't even know where to begin with it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, how that might affect a person. You know, when I left the Catholic school, I went to a private school briefly before I tried homeschool. So it's just like, I can't do this. But
your parents are willing to do that.
Yeah, and they weren't even home. I was just like, they were just like, teach yourself algebra 2. I was like, all right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Obviously, it didn't pan out, but like, yeah, man. And I was there for like 2-3 days, and within that span of time, I didn't want to say the Pledge of Allegiance, and they were like, just.
Yeah, that's not a good move.
And then I was like drawing like crazy like demons and stuff in the art teacher's class. This is the craziest thing too. She had a nightmare about it. And then the principal,
that's probably some bullshit.
The fucking principal brings it up to me as if am I a teenager responsible for an adult's sleep situation? Like, what the fuck are you talking about, dude?
That's so funny.
But yeah, dude, they were like, we just don't think you're gonna be a good fit, man. Which, like, fair, because, you know, it probably wasn't a good fit, because all of those people were fucking crazy. You know? I mean, like, looking back, I think other places in that time period that were more urban would have dismissed my shit as just typical teen angst.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe it would have gotten a little bit more intense once the fucking Columbine shit popped off. But even then, I mean, with that whole school shooting shit, like people are fucking. You know, Marilyn Manson kind of said it like in the very beginning with Columbine. He was like, they were like, "What would you say to the fucking kids?" He was like, "I would fucking listen to them." Like, obviously, what they did was like terrible and wrong.
Yeah.
But their motivations were still socially based in some way.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
If they weren't, they just would have walked off into the woods and fucking killed themselves.
Yeah.
So,
absolutely.
You know, it's like making people into pariahs, treating people in such a way. I mean, I know it's a part of human nature, and we definitely haven't made any steps towards getting rid of it, but we should look into it because, you know, it fucks up a lot of people's emotional lives as adults.
We don't focus on the root problems at all. Like, we're incapable as a society of, like, solving any problem. I think COVID is, like, the perfect example of that.
Sure, man. And, I mean, it even goes down to, like, how we treat medical problems. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
what do you mean?
I mean, most of the time, Western mode of treatment is treat symptoms, and they don't want to get to the root cause because you can make money by treating symptoms forever.
Yeah,
but if you cure something, that's it, man. One and done. I can't fucking milk you for anything.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
Yeah. that is exactly how it works. Yeah, I mean, what was I saying before? Like, with COVID, and then what were we talking about? Like, oh yeah, school shooters.
Right.
People always say mental health.
Yeah.
Well, what about mental health? Like, you need to drill down on actually the roots. Mental health is a giant topic.
And essentially what they're doing is they're taking that term and they're placing the onus of responsibility on this one fucking individual kid.
Right.
When really, mental health is a community issue.
Yes, totally. Yeah. And the one thing that the school shooters all seem to have in common is that they're socially isolated.
Yeah.
That's the number one thing. They all have that in common.
Yeah, and they're like, what's the common
It's like if there's a kid who's an outcast and isolated, they're an at-risk kid.
And they don't have
they're not
friends.
necessarily... People might not be shit at this kid. This kid might have problems. And he's isolated, but like if there's an isolated kid, that's an at-risk kid. They should be trying to help that kid.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Like, I honestly, if the planet survives, I have a hope for like the new generation on that.
Gen Z?
Gen Z.
I think they're the worst generation of all time.
Maybe, but I do think that like just having like new brains tackle problems.
Yeah.
With new information that wasn't available before, specifically with like social issues and stuff like that. I think that younger millennials and Gen Z in particular have made a lot of big strides that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like really dragging the adults kicking and screaming into fucking, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Putting the goddamn rainbow on their cereal box every Gay Pride month.
Yeah, I mean, people get so fatalist, and it is like a shitty, ridiculous time in a lot of ways. But it's by every metric, things are always getting better, right?
Sure,
and things will continue to get better.
I mean, I definitely, have plenty of doomer tendencies, but I think like my spirituality that I've sort of like discovered in recovery sort of really helps me gain perspective on all of that, because I mean, this is just a ride, man.
Mm-hmm.
Bill Hicks said it best. Like, we're here to enjoy it, and then we forget that it's a ride, and people start taking it seriously, and we start making the ride shitty for a lot of aspects of self.
So did you like put your recovery in a higher power? Is that how do you do that 12-step thing?
I guess, because the way that it all panned out for me, I guess, like, this is related to all the pariah type trauma that I experienced as a youngster. I was like, I was a vocal atheist when I was young. I'm not now, but my definitions changed wildly of what God, quote unquote, is. But like at the time, just like, why can't I believe whatever I want? Like, I couldn't get it. I think that's like very ADHD. You know what I mean? There's this certain like earnestness that's like baked into your personality, because there are all of these aspects of being phony that your brain, it just doesn't have the hardware, dog.
Yeah.
But fuck.
So what was your spirituality that you developed then?
Well, right. So when I first got into recovery, obviously I was in real bad shape. And as a matter of fact, I've been to rehab a couple times in my life, and I had been exposed to 12 steps, and I was still kind of confused about it, because rehab is evil a lot of the time, and they're mostly like shilling for drug companies and stuff, putting in a bunch of vulnerable people on Seroquel and shit, and making them gain like 50 pounds in 2 months. But I didn't know. It was like, is AA connected to all of this? There's like some I thought they were like some secret shadow organization. They're like funneling money somewhere or something. Like, it all seemed fucky to me. And so when I got back into the whole damn thing, I was like, all right, so I know that I've been drunk before, what they call dry drunk. for periods of time. And those were the worst periods of my fucking life. And I also can't go, like, my body can't physically go in the direction of doing drugs and alcohol any longer. So unless there's a third option, I'm going to fucking kill myself. These motherfuckers say they got a third option. If I do everything that they say to do on that wall, I'm thinking it's not even going to work. I'm like, then I can, like, commit suicide without regret. Like, I tried it, motherfucker. I tried everything. Like, this is it. You know what I mean? But, like, it's actually a very effective, the 12 steps are a very effective, systematic process to deflate your ego enough to let enough spiritual energy into basically, I mean, I don't have
well,
alcohol problem.
That's one of their steps. Is the second step. Is it, you have to put your faith in a higher power?
Well, yeah, and there's like the way that I handled it, I was just like, I gotta get anything non-Christian, so I'm just reading. And I settled on the Tao Te Ching. I don't know if you know what that is.
No.
So there's this, it's not really a religion, but it predates Buddhism. It's called Taoism. It comes out of ancient China.
Right, yeah.
It's a small book.
It's not Confucius.
No, it's like post-Confucius, pre-Buddha.
Okay.
And essentially, there's a lot of themes that are similar. It talks a lot about the Tao being that which cannot be named. So you can't even, it's the thing you can't talk about and can't think about. And that's what all kinds of people are talking about. Fucking Buddhists, like Eckhart Tolle, fucking, you know, other people whose names I can't think of, or I just watch videos on YouTube and stuff. But like, essentially, I found enough in that little book to form a rudimentary idea of a spirituality. It's grown since then. It's almost like, I don't know, I guess, like when you are like growing a pot plant or something, you got them in a little thingy and you're gonna like transplant them over. It's like at some point I reached a different world, but in the beginning, I mean, I had like half of that Suboxone bottle saved up. I was like, I don't have a tolerance now. I could take like one or two of these and fucking overdose. And one of the steps, obviously, is like amends and whatever. And like when I made amends to my friend's parents, my friend who died, I had like some click inside of my head, and like I continued to make amends to other people, obviously, but that was like, and it wasn't like an instant. It was almost like an unraveling. Like that was the moment it started to unravel, and then a couple of weeks later, I was like, I feel fucking different, dude. Like, you know what I mean? Like, what is going on? Just like this weight off of my chest. I feel light, and I continued to explore. Like Eastern religions and stuff like that. And I don't really like subscribe to anything in particular, but essentially what I believe is that existence is a one unified field of consciousness that's experienced itself subjectively by manifesting as everything. You know what I mean? So you, me, that fucking camera, the sky, the universe.
Yeah.
And it all has a purpose that is like beyond our puny
intelligence. I've heard a lot of, and I have a similar belief system, but I've heard people say that like God is intelligence.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, for sure. Like it's like God is not like like an anthropomorphized like human figure.
Yeah.
It's like the space around everything. Like in order for there to be something, there has to be nothing from it to come up out of. And the nothing is essentially what you're trying to get in touch with when you're like meditating and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And like focusing on your breath and focusing what it feels like inside your body, like that feeling of awareness.
Expanding your consciousness.
Yeah. But it's not your consciousness.
It's our consciousness.
The
consciousness.
Yeah. It's like an illusion that we're like this separate little entity.
We're all tapping it. I think we're like, that's why I never believe that AI will be a thing. Like the AI that are in movies that are like robots.
If it is, it'll be like an evolution of the universal consciousness.
Consciousness is not a computation. There's something on like, our brains are doing something, but I feel like we have an antenna that's tapping into something greater.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think like...
And that's why like you see it in like ants and bees, how they do these things. How does the ant know to create a bridge over a river? Yeah. You've seen these ants in the jungle that create bridges with their bodies. They're all tapped into a universal ant consciousness.
And if you pay
which
attention...
is God.
Yeah, if you pay attention, you could find yourself doing shit like that.
Yeah. Oh, that exists with people too.
Yeah.
When you get a vibe off someone, and then you were completely right about that person.
Yeah. And you had nothing to go on.
Nothing to go on. Yeah. Yeah.
So that is something that I've grown in like understanding and practice over time. I don't go to class because I want to have the like ability to like fall and bust my ass and it'd be okay. So I just do like yoga videos at the crib, and I regularly meditate. I like to go out to right now I like to go out to the wetlands, and there's like this area where there's a bunch of huge rocks and some rushing water beside, and there's this one I like to go sit on and I'll meditate.
That's great.
For like 30 minutes or an hour.
Yeah, I used to do it twice a day. I did TM. I did the classes for TM. Now I just sit, and I've been doing it for long enough where I can just kind of just get there. You're just trying to get to a place of witnessing.
You don't have to actually meditate.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? You can just become present.
Yeah.
But I find that when I am having trouble like grabbing that thread, that for whatever reason,
these tools
that spot is like a power spot.
Yeah. So what are you doing right now, like gig wise? You do Uber here in Vegas. What else?
I mean, I make money from my Instagram and Patreon, which is like connected to my Instagram. Are you selling shit? Like, do you sell like merch on your shit? Just as a fellow creator, just interested. Merch is really hard to like.
I feel like you would do well with that.
I did initially.
Yeah.
Like initially, people were very interested. And I created a pretty neat logo and everything. But people become disinterested. And I'll tell you something else about Instagram. And that I'm sure that they fucking hate this. People do not want to spend money on Instagram. That is not why they're fucking there.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, it works when they sell the ads.
I mean, it works.
They've gotten me. I've bought a lot of clothes from ads that have popped up on Instagram.
Right.
Yeah.
But did you go there to buy clothes?
No.
Were you like, let me get on Instagram and find my next fit?
No. But if the offer's enticing enough, there are definitely people that make it.
I'm not saying that like they don't make money from turning it into a marketplace. But what I'm saying is it's not a marketplace.
Yeah.
It's a place where people go to like hang out and talk to each other.
Yeah.
And now there's a marketplace.
I'm really excited for the Instagram's in-app Patreon competitor that they announced.
They gave it to me.
They did it?
Yeah, they gave it to me. And I've got 11 subscribers right now. It's only been live for like 3 days, but
just 3 days ago they gave it to you.
Yeah.
Okay. Fingers crossed.
Yeah. It's like it was brand new.
Yeah.
Pop up. And I was surprised too because they never give me anything.
Yeah. I got the Reels bonus, which is good.
I got the badges, but like here's the thing with all this shit. You really have to make, because I made $80 in IGTV ads I never saw.
Mm-hmm.
I've probably got about $50 or $60 in badges that I've never seen.
Mm-hmm.
Because they won't pay you out until you make $100.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, what is to stop them from, like, fucking over all of these smaller content creators and, you know, squeezing them for just under $100 worth of fucking shit, and then, suddenly you've got a fucking post deleted, and now you're ineligible.
Yeah, that's the shit that, like, it's hard to actually rely on these companies for your, like, income, especially when they can delete your account like that.
Yeah. And, like, I've seen ads now for, like, account insurance. Like, that's what I
want that.
right. It's like the fact that, like, that's like, I'm like, fuck this shit, man. I'm facing my lifelong fear of going on stage. Like, how shitty Instagram is what, like, pushed me to face a lifelong fear. That's like very shitty.
Yeah. You're doing it. I mean, I think it's a good segue for you because you do put yourself on your profile to some extent. And, like, what I've learned, and I'm satisfied with, like, how I've built it out in the format of my show, but, like, you know, I didn't really put my face in it.
Right.
And that's something that I realized in retrospect that it would have been easier for me if I had, because it would have, you need to sell a personality. You need to sell a personality. And that's also key if you're going to do stand-up, you know?
Sure. And I think probably that, and, you know, there are some people who write very great jokes online. And then you meet them, and you're like, you're the most awkward fucking person that I've ever met. Have you ever had a friend?
Honestly, most of them, you meet most memers are very introverted people.
Right.
Yeah.
Some not. Like,
some not, but to be that in your phone all the time, which a lot of them are just like all the time, they're very, you know, it usually takes a very introverted mind.
Sure.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I think that I'm actually an introvert.
Yeah.
You know, there are those people who like I can do social stuff.
Right.
It's like I have a shitty battery for it.
Yeah.
I can thrive in a social situation. I know what to do.
Yeah.
But I need a lot of solitude.
Yeah. There's a difference between being shy and being an introvert.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I feel as though there are some accounts that have no personality attached to it. Like, it used to be the repost accounts, but now, you know, with fucking Memechella and everything like that, and like the Gen Z kids coming in with their whatever shit posting.
Yeah.
Ironic shit posting, I think is what they're calling it. Which is like, isn't it already shitty? Like, what makes it more ironic? I don't know. People will say that something is dripping in layers of irony, and I'm like, okay, point out the layers then. Show me all the layers.
So wait, how long have you been working on stand-up?
A couple of weeks.
Okay, so it's a new thing.
Yeah, I mean, like, up until now, it had been this thing where it was like, I always loved it. I admired and respect everybody that I admire and respect did stuff that I'm trying to do now. Authors, comedians, artists. So wait, what was I talking about?
Doing stand-up.
Oh yeah, right. So, it was just like in the back of my mind, it was like, that would be nice, but I could never.
It's tough. Well, you're guaranteed to suck when you start out, you know? And like bombing, it probably sucks.
It doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, and I think like how this Instagram can manufacture the feeling of bombing.
Yeah.
Inside of you, in your home. Mm-hmm. Because I didn't bomb. I saw some people that bombed my first time. I got a few laughs, but I definitely
Yeah, it didn't do well.
right.
Yeah.
I definitely was a first time.
Yeah.
And the feeling that I had afterwards is not even as strong as some of the feelings that I've had when a post that I put a lot of work into that I thought was going to do really well just fucking tanked.
You know,
and it was usually over something fucking arbitrary, you know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah. Oh, I mean, my posts take a lot of time. And sometimes it's something that Instagram does. That's what drives me insane.
That's what I'm saying, dude.
Like sometimes I'll post it and then I realize like I put the wrong thumbnail or something on it and then I delete it, but then it half deletes it, but it's still showing it out to half of my followers. So I can't get this thing because I'm still getting notifications that people are liking it, but it's not showing it out to everyone. So then I repost it and it does really poorly because like all my biggest fans have already seen it, so they don't like it.
It's
so
not even that.
And
it's like when you delete and repost something, they'll de-emphasize that. I don't know why.
Yeah.
What their reason behind it is, but like if you fuck up, like do everything you can to avoid delete.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Fucking. But if you do, it's gonna do.
Yeah.
70.
TikTok isn't like that. TikTok is so much more forgiving, and it's just funny because they claim that they're trying to make their algorithm more like TikTok. Well, then fucking make it like TikTok. Make the engagement good. Like TikTok is like.
So how
so
do you
easy.
do? What is the trick? As if you have like 1,000 followers or less to
For
get
TikTok?
engagement on TikTok, because I couldn't figure it out.
Well, I'm lucky in that I have a huge back catalog. I just 2 months ago was like, all right, I'm going to start dumping everything on TikTok. But this time I'm actually going to take the time to bleep out all the curse words, just not post certain posts that are too much, and just like cut out maybe sections of certain posts. And it takes some time, but like it's worth it because I do it like once a week. I'll make like 7 posts in like an hour and a half, and I'll schedule them because TikTok you can schedule it out 10 days.
Right.
And like I could post. You have to post a lot. You have to post every day.
Yeah.
Especially when you're starting out. And I post every day, and then like I'm at 30K, and it's only been 2 months. So, and it's snowballing. Where like I could take a couple days off posting, and I'm still gaining a lot of followers. So
yeah. I've like become completely traumatized by Instagram and like disconnected from like the number. I don't even look at my.
Yeah.
I haven't looked at my insights this year.
Yeah.
So
I can't look at this shit. Like I when I first started out I was very in the comments, but like I just like don't want to like go. I made it. I'm happy with it. I release it, and like people give me positive feedback, and that's great. But like I get so frustrated about like because I know something's good and I know it's the algorithm that's fucking me. I just don't want the headache of it. I just would rather focus on the next thing.
right, exactly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like, I think though with Instagram, because you're not posting multiple times a day, it's not like that. At least with this particular medium.
Yeah.
Like if you're an OC memer,
Yeah.
you're posting more than like 2 times a day.
Yeah.
People don't want, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, do we really need to see your fucking art 3 times in
Yeah. Yeah.
and I mean, I get that.
Posting multiple times a day, people claim that. That's just too much. Like, there's plenty of people who grow without doing that. That's insanity,
Yeah.
More is not always more, I think the algorithm of Instagram is kind of set up that way. You're not really supposed to post on it. Like TikTok, they really want you to post a lot. Instagram is, I don't think it's like that.
Yeah, it's kind of hard for me to figure out with that whole thing, but
But I would say like if you're doing stand up, like write bits and just like do that on TikTok, basically. Like do your bits on TikTok. I think that'll probably speed up your growth process as a comedian.
Really?
Because you'll get to like really test things out in a way that is a lot easier than like, going out on stage, which you can only do so often, especially when you're starting out.
What do you do? Like when people post their jokes on there, they just sit in front of the camera and say a joke? Like
you do different stuff. You could come up with like a recurring theme. I'm actually helping my girlfriend do her TikTok because she's like doesn't have one, and like as a comedian, I think she should have one. So like, she's a DJ and a comedian, so we're gonna come up with like this bit where it's like the DJ booth, and we're gonna write skits around like common like annoying things people say to her, like when they're requesting, and like she has this whole thing written out.
See, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Like me and Joelle think of skits all the time.
Yeah.
But honestly, Joelle more than I has like actually executed on a lot of skits. But a skit is not a bit. A skit is a skit.
Yeah,
That's why
true.
it's got a
But
different word
but
for
they
it.
inform each other, and just like writing is health. Writing comedy informs writing comedy.
But I definitely I think that you're right in that. When I did do videos, I did come up with some funny stuff. I mean, I got some here. Look, I got some videos that like on my Instagram. If I can, there's one that like I'm particularly proud of. So fucking loud. God.
Do you have any funny stories of like driving Uber here?
Well, nothing really crazy has happened in Vegas, but I had this one lady try to murder suicide us on the highway in St. Louis.
What happened?
Okay, hold on, check this shit out. It was just like an idea that came to me suddenly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's funny. That's a TikTok, you know?
Right.
It should be on TikTok.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, I would make that and I would put it on TikTok and it would do nothing.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, what am I
It's
doing?
okay to have it do nothing at first. Just keep posting stuff, and then it'll catch. Once you catch fire, then things start rolling. But you have to you know.
I think I might start over it and like just do the stand up.
Start it over.
Start over and do the stand up one that's you know, not really connected to
and just have a
the other one
have a friend film your set, and then you could repurpose that. That's like easy content, you know. If your set has like record it and, you know, have once you do a good one, like you just piece out and repurpose that, you'll get like 5 good posts out of one set, you know.
let's see. I completely dissociated last time I was on stage, so unfortunately I won't be able to improve on that performance. Which is true, man. I feel like what happened, I don't even know, because I felt like I did horrible, and I had a couple of dudes come up to me after the show and say I was funny. I was like,
why didn't you laugh?
I was like, I thought it was bad. I mean, it's hard. I think you're like, you don't know what to expect. And in your head, it's hard to not be like, subconsciously you're expecting like a stand-up comics laugh track.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like when something falls flat, you're like, oh, that's not how I see it's done.
It's a rough process.
But
I mean, Nina's been doing it for I think like a decade, and she said she got good like 3 years ago. It takes a long time. Yeah, it takes a long time to actually get good, you know. But yeah, you should talk to her about comedy.
I'd be totally down to do that.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think even if you were like not good at stand-up comedy yet, you could probably like tell certain people have like what it takes to become good.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think
that's what it is. Like, and I see it in you. I think you definitely have like the ability, and you have like the story. So like I could tell that you have like, there's a lot of stuff you can write about.
Sure.
And you have the insight, and you have the sense of humor. Like you have the ingredients, but then you have to like go through the pain of sucking and investing time into something that you're not seeing a lot of progress on, and that's why people fall off. Yeah. But like, you know, if you have the ingredients, you can become a good stand-up if you're just willing to put in that time.
I think, like, it kind of helps me that it's not like, I'm not like, oh, I gotta be a fucking stand-up or like, fuck my life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like this thing that I'm very interested in, but it's not even my main thing. I'm a fucking poet, man. That's what I love to do. I write fucking poetry. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I'm most connected to the antenna when I'm doing that.
Yeah.
So, like, ultimately, that's when I want to be an author.
I think you could write stand-up that is like poetry. I think you could tap into the same thing in your stand-up.
You know, something interesting that I started doing, like, spontaneously. So, I don't know, just the way that my ADHD brain works, I can, like, spontaneously create, like, complex rhymes that utilize, like, everything. You know what I mean? Like, alliteration, whatever that thing is called when the vowels rhyme, you name it, dude. And it's something that I'm not thinking about. It's coming out of me like that.
Okay.
I did that, like, when I left St. Louis. I mean, I was living out of hotels for 8 fucking months, man. It was, you know, crazy shit happened, you know? The murder-suicide
What was that? I gotta hear that.
Fucking... Alright. Let me get back to that. Let me finish this one thought, and I'll tell you about it. Fuck. What is it? I fucking hate
poetry.
Right. So, I had always wanted to be someone who wrote every day, but it took me a while to rev up to that after I got sober.
Have you heard of The Artist's Way? Morning Pages? I read this book, Artist's Way, and they talk about how writing in the morning is, like, super beneficial. I didn't read I read some of the book.
Well, that's what I do.
I read every morning, every single morning. And it only takes me like 20 minutes. There's an app called Morning Pages. I do it on my laptop. And you could set what your limit is. I put 400 words, but I usually write more than that. But I have to write 400 words.
I'm cranking 3 pages out a day right now, this novel.
How many words is that?
I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, like, I usually do a lot of poetry writing while I'm walking around. I'll get up in the morning and I'll do... So speaking of the Ehlers-Danlos and, like, not being able to gain muscle, like, I do, like, 200-300 push-ups a day.
Right.
Like, I'm very strong.
Yeah.
But, like, I'll never really, you know, without some sort of enhancement when I'm not doing. But I get up and I'll do, like, 100 push-ups, set, and then I'll go walk around. Right now, where I live, I'm close to Sunset Park. I usually will just walk over that way.
Yeah.
And I never put any pressure on myself to do anything creative on these walks. I'm going on the walks because they do something for me. And shit will just come up. But so during this process of, like, living out of hotels, I realized this is my book. This is my first novel. I'm living it right now. And I started writing every day poetry. You know, walking around in the morning, getting up in the morning, at least 1 to 2 poems a day, every day for 8 months. And so I really, like, accidentally practiced that skill. So I'm going to be writing a novel that's, like, blurring the lines between poetry and prose. And the whole thing is going to, like, rhyme, basically. But it's not going to feel forced. Every sentence is going to feel like if it didn't rhyme, it could go there. And so, that combined with some of the sensitive subject matter, sometimes, like, I will be writing this shit and I will get, like, a paragraph out and I'll have to, like, put my fucking head down on the desk, you know what I mean? It's, like, just taking the most fucking energy out of me.
Yeah.
But it's a labor of love. It's something I really want to do, so I don't mind that.
What time is it? Is it after 7?
Yeah, it's 7:10.
Tell me that story and then we should wrap.
Okay, man. So I pull up in this rich neighborhood, and I should have known something was up off rip because
You were driving Uber.
yeah,
Can you
driving
say
Uber, and I pull up in this rich neighborhood, and this woman comes up, this older white woman comes up to my car, and immediately, like, I actually fucking hate that shit when people like come to your car and want to talk to you. It's like, fucking get in, dude. The license plate is on the app. Look at it. If it matches, get in the fucking car. But anyway, I roll the window down, and she hands me like $60 in cash up front. And I'm like, okay. She's like, my friend is belligerent. Which, wrong word. Not the right word for this woman. This woman was foaming at the fucking mouth. You know what I mean? She was, I don't know, man. She might have been on some of them research chemicals. But she was in the back seat, man, and like just flipped, reached out from the back seat, like grabbed the steering wheel and tried to just like yank it to the side. And I'm like holding the steering wheel, fighting her off. I finally get off of the highway. I trick her out of the car. I get out of the car. Try to call Uber. Can't get anyone because it's a weekend. Try to call 911. Can't get anybody because it's a weekend. And I'm like, fuck, I got this woman's purse. And I guess she's never getting it back because I'm not keeping it and I'm not bringing it back to her. But I did keep her fucking driver's license. Her name is Crystal with a Y. I have the worst trouble with the daughters of women who looked at the right spelling of a name and they're like, not my kid.
That's really funny. I wish we could have talked about like the bartending days in New Orleans more.
Well, I mean, if you want to go...
I actually have to catch a flight. I'm taking a red eye to Maryland.
I was going to say, if you want to go for like another 10 minutes, that's fine, but I feel you, dude.
What do you have to say about those years? That was when you were just really in your addiction. You kind of already talked about that, right?
The New Orleans years?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, I got my heart broken by this girl I was living... my drug addiction did it, but we were dating. I was in love with her, and I ruined it. We were in Jackson at the time. She moved back to New Orleans. I had some legal trouble to deal with, and eventually I ended up there. And I told myself it was for other reasons, but it was absolutely like to try and get her back or whatever. And then once that didn't pan out, I'm like working in the French Quarter. You know how I had done heroin in this time, like 3 or 4 years, probably. And, it was like my first week at Deja Vu Bar and Grill, this dive bar that I worked at. And the fucking dishwasher, was like, I bummed a cigarette from him. And he was like, yeah, man, here you go. And he handed me the cigarette, and the filter was like kind of torn on it. And that's a little signal for junkies, because you need some sort of filtering system to filter the drugs in the water up into the needle. Usually people use like cotton swabs. They actually sell little cotton balls. Give them out at needle exchanges and stuff like that. So people will take a cigarette filter and roll it up like that, throw it in there. So I knew what the fuck that was. And I said something about it. And he was like, oh man, don't fucking tell anybody. And I was like, all right, man, well, like, hook me up with your plug, man. And that was how all that started. And I was essentially just like, I was heartbroken and I was down and out in my own life. I just didn't have any direction. And I was nihilistic and hopeless about the future. And I quickly fell into hard drug use, and I stayed on heroin for like a year and a half straight. And I just worked in the French Quarter. I would fucking shoot up dope 4 hours before my shift so that I could come in looking like a little hungover, work an 8-hour shift, be going through heroin withdrawals by the time I got off, speed my bike home, and shoot up again. That was my fucking routine. And so then the Suboxone came into the mix, the friend dying, the overdose, all that stuff. This all occurs the last like 2 or 3 years that I'm there. And finally...
Yeah, what made you leave?
I think my last straw was I lived down the fucking street from this bar on Washington Avenue. It's this shitty little hole in the wall. Or it would be if there was a wall. It's just like this ugly purplish fuchsia color, but the owner of this bar let one of the patrons borrow his huge ass fucking truck. And this dude like immediately pulls around the corner and fucking slams into my fucking parked car. It's new, by the way. Up until this point, I've had like an old Buick Regal, like a fucking 90-something Buick Regal. And then I finally get this fucking Trailblazer. It's like a 2009 or 10 in like 2015 or something. So pretty nice for a used car. Totaled it, man. Instantly. Like T-boned it into a tree. And like, you know, I went out there and I was just like, you know what, man? I'm done with this shit. I'm done with this city. I can't even park my motherfucking car on the street.
You got the insurance for that.
Yeah, there was insurance, and I got actually a newer car by 1 year out of the deal, but the old Trailblazer was black, which of course, old goth kid, I was like, yeah, man, black car. And the new one was silver, and I was like, no, sir. This is not the good trade out. I don't want to be the paladin. I want to be the black mage, dog.
Priz, this was great. Yeah. I had so much fun. Thank you so much for this. Too, man. This was great.